Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 10 Minutes Astrology. Once a week, me and Alejo will be here talking about the astrology to help you to learn astrology. For last season, we are talking about the retrograde and the stationary planet, and that is coming to the end. Well, today we are going to our last planet, Chiron, but it's very interesting. Before that, I have to announce the first of February. I invite Sharon and I going to give a electional astrology workshop. If you are ever into about using astrology to choose a date, to initiate an event, sign a contract, to start a business, that would be the course you really want to join us. It's on the 1st of February, 4 p.m. GMT. On the 15th of March, dear Alejo will give us the From War to Waves. And so we are going to talk about for next 2 years, that Saturn is a very close, we say, conjunct with Neptune and the whole year's run for the collective and the individual way. Now, let's come back to Chiron retrograde and stationary. So Chiron is a very interesting role from mythology and even for the astronomy. Do you know Chiron is a comet? Chiron identified as a comet. That's interesting. I think we know, I think from Melanie Reinhardt's work, we know Chiron has comet character.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't know it was identified as one.
Yeah, we didn't know. And it's not that I identify myself as a comet. It is the IAU, the International Astronomy Union, defined Chiron as a comet.
So it must be so interesting also because you're specialist in comets.
Yes, I think that finally things put together because I'm also interested in Chiron. Could you give us a little bit idea about in astrology about the Chiron and when it's retrograde?
So Chiron, we say about Chiron this idea of the part of you that feels awkward, right? The part of you that feels a little bit different, and the part of you that feels perhaps rejected, and how by trying to embrace these parts, you become more yourself. I think there is a kind of humbling experience through Chiron, right? So I would say that when it's retrograde, maybe there is this sense of trying not to show this awkwardness, trying to hide this. So perhaps a sense of shame, perhaps like I'm damaged. I don't want people to see this. Perhaps this sense of rejection comes from within. It's not something that you have experienced. So when people try to find situations or a reason on why they feel this rejection, why they feel this awkwardness inside, they really cannot find stories in their life that justify this. It's coming from within because it's retrograde. But then it would also mean that the way to heal this will come from within. And I think with Chiron, it always comes from within. But, it always comes from within and not. I think with Chiron, we need communities that will accept us for our flaws and for things that we consider ourselves awkward. We need to feel this love. So, I don't want to self-advertise, but I'm actually writing an article on Wicked for the AA Journal.
Oh, really?
And I touch a lot on this idea of Chiron and Wicked and how important it is in the movie when there is a moment in which Glinda accepts her, and by feeling the love of all of her peers, she starts gaining her sense of power. So I think maybe Chiron retrograde doesn't need so much doesn't need so much the outer mirroring. It's just within the person itself to learn to love themselves for who they are.
Wow.
And from that they heal.
Wow, beautiful. Yes. Most people, when we talk about Chiron, this kind of a healing process means so much. It's so important. But I just want to not really want to be to show off, but I just want to say we have to acknowledge that it's a wound there.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that we cannot just like look at and say healing. But if you don't know what is the wound, where is the wound, when was the wound, and how exactly the wound, if you don't understand that, the whole healing process can maybe not be so effective.
I think, I think with Saturn, we're much more willing to accept where we feel the lack of Saturn. But with Chiron, I feel it becomes so much more visceral. We are much more in denial.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It is so interesting that I realized we have to care for Chiron. Is they either been there for a long time, we forget, or they are either too painful. So we kind of want to protect it. We are not going to reveal that pain to someone we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. We have
So
to tread softly. Yeah.
that was another major thing, Melanie, talking about the Chiron as a connection between the Earth and sky. Half body is like a animal, but the half body is the goldish. So that is
Yeah.
connection. So interesting. So today our case, well, is Carl Jung.
So talking about Chiron, of course, this is
I'm
very,
not. I was, to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised when I realized he has Chiron stationary.
yeah. And it's there in Aries in the second house.
Yes.
So I would say, this idea, because Carl Jung was the one who started saying the psychologist is also wounded. Like up
Oh,
to Carl Jung, maybe there were others who had said it also before, I'm not sure. But with Freud, the idea was like there was a hierarchy between the patient and the doctor. And it's the
ah,
doctor who knows, who can guide the patient into healing.
yeah.
And this hierarchy must be respected. And this is why they fought, actually, because, one
Oh,
of the
wow.
stories is that Freud asks a dream from Jung, and he tells his dream. And when Jung asks Freud for his dream, Freud says, I'm not going to tell you, I would lose authority. And Jung is like, no, but we're working on an equal, we're working as equals. And Jung will take this to his clinical practice, because for Jung, pathological the pathological psyche and the, if you want to call it healthy normal psyche, there's not a
Mhm.
difference in it's not different psyches. The degree of the pathology, like what you consider the psychological pathological structure, it's also present in the normal psyche, but in a different degree.
Okay.
So basically, what he's saying is the people that we pathologize and we label and we diagnose as being sick are not so different than us. They have the
Ah,
same problems, they have the same difficulties. It's just the difference is in degree. It's more exposed. So that's why we see it more.
wow.
So he's starting to say, like, either we're all sick or we're all healthy. Or this opposition between being sick and healthy is not so clearly cut, the two different poles.
Yes.
And so he starts talking about this idea that the therapist also heals while he's taking care of his
Wow.
patients.
Wow. That is so interesting. So you can see this this Chiron is in the axis of the Aries and Libra, and it's opposite Jupiter in the Libra. So you can really see this equality things working on,
Yeah,
and we probably just like you say that Jupiter is just a mirroring enlarge the challenges side of the people request to need help, professional help. And then the therapist itself is also the wounded one.
exactly. Yes. And he would say, we heal through our patients, and you will attract patients who are going through your same wounds, because they're helping you heal. And he will also say these ideas of like facing the wound, of course, not trying to run away from it, and accepting yourself. So for him, you don't cure, you don't, when someone gets better, it's not because you cure something, it's because you accepted yourself more.
Ah, wow.
Healing comes through acceptance.
Healing comes to acceptance. Wow, that is so interesting. Thank you so much to share with
Thank you,
us
thank you.
today. Well, Alejo, we are just finished all the retrograde planet and the stationary planet. It's achievement.
It's an achievement, yes.
Yeah, but
And
we just missed the retrograde of sun, retrograde of the moon, retrograde of the
come
no
on,
snow, the sun. Sorry.
don't confuse people.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I apologize. Sun and moon does not go retrograde, and the North Node always go retrograde. Okay, but what's our next project?
So our next project is gonna be we're gonna raise the bet and we're gonna go for transits. Yes.
As we
So
promised.
far we've been talking a lot about natal chart, how to work with the natal chart, how to analyze the natal chart. We think it's time to go for something more dynamic. So we're
Yeah,
gonna go to transits, which is the natal chart in motion, basically. Yes.
yeah. So most people will understand they're talking about the future, what's going to happen this year or something. Usually people just are looking on the transit, and they're talking about. So from next week, we are going to focus on the general view of transit for the professional astrologer. And then we will go through house by house and
Yeah.
with from Pluto transiting Pluto in the first house. And the whole year round, we're going to go in depth discussion about the transit planet in the house. So stay in tune and see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.